Good Thursday morning to you. Welcome on into Morning JOX, JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. We finally made it. Today is the day. Finally get some action. Sweet 16 starts. Opening day in MLB. It's just now, it's after the past couple days with not as much action around, the NIT was nice. Unfortunately for one of our teams here in the state of Alabama, it comes to an end. But this is also the day that we've been waiting on all fronts.
Selfishly, the way that the schedule sets up today for me, this might be the best day of my entire year. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, because we get to do this show every day, which we're so honored to be able to do.
Absolutely.
And then we get to fill in for Greg and Cole for 3 hours. Then we get to go home. I'm going to have a nice big lunch. And then I'm going to turn on the Yankees game at 2:00.
Yep.
And then right around the time the Yankees game gets done, it'll be time for me to mentally prepare for the Sweet 16. And then you'll have Alabama, BYU, and then 3 other games after that. So for me, selfishly today, this is, about as good as it gets, unless we magically had college football season that moved to the spring and you wanted to throw some of that in here too. But selfishly for me, I'm in a good mood today. I'm optimistic.
I think we all are because now we get the Sweet 16. Alabama starts things off. To Conrad's point, today they take on BYU. A game about 6:15, somewhere in that window from Newark, New Jersey. And it's kind of one of those things where all week long we've kind of drug it out a little bit. It's like, okay, for all the excitement that we got from last week, you kind of hit a little bit of a dead period the first 3 days, and then now we're ramping it back up for the next 4-day slate we're going to have. And again, this is what the schedule looks like today in the Sweet 16. The 2-6 matchup with Alabama and BYU. Then right after that, tipping off at about 6:30 or so, you have Maryland taking on Florida, and 8:30 tonight, right after Alabama BYU, about 25 minutes, you have Arizona taking on Duke. And then to wrap up the nightcap after the Florida Maryland, we have Arkansas taking on Texas Tech. So I think that today you start to see some separation in the beginning of the Sweet 16. Of course, Auburn plays tomorrow in the nightcap. But I think early on, and then looking specifically at Alabama BYU, you think we should do a final score Thursday? Does Alabama?
Absolutely. We can do a final score Thursday and a final score Friday.
I'm down with it. 205-834-9450. Y'all know how it gets down. Pretty much, is Alabama going to the Elite Eight? That's the biggest question. Because, again, if you want to send in your scores for Florida, Maryland, Arizona, Duke, Arkansas, Texas Tech, so be it. We'll accept those as well. But I really want to know if Alabama is going to keep this dance going. They take on BYU, and when you look at, and to Conrad's point earlier this week, he was kind of going over some of the numbers that this BYU team is very similar to the Kentucky Wildcats, and we've seen Alabama knock off Kentucky, and it came on the separation between Kentucky and BYU came on the defensive side. So if you're Alabama, it's okay. We may have some more opportunities to put some shots up and score a lot of points, but it just feels as though, kind of the sway in public is like, don't sleep on this BYU team. But I feel like you can have that argument for every team in the Sweet 16 is you're here for a reason, no matter how you slice it up. Arkansas being the Cinderella, I guess you would say at this point, as a double-digit seed. But if you listen to McElroy and Kublik in the morning yesterday, we had Eric G on, the program director down there, and 92.1 The Ticket in Fayetteville. He's like, Arkansas is the more physical team. He's like, you can throw the seedings out the window. It's one of those things, and Arkansas probably is going in pretty confident. And with Coach Cal, from everything that happened in the regular season of how inconsistent that this team was, they find themselves in this position. And you just got to be better than Texas Tech today. Doesn't really matter what you've done up until this point. You found yourself at this position. You just got to be better than Texas Tech today. The same with Alabama and BYU. You just got to be better than BYU today. But I think, as we get closer, we start to see some separation, of course, with the Final Four in San Antonio next week. I mean, the road is made for you. You know exactly what lies ahead if you win and continue fighting on. You get the winner between Arizona and Duke. And to be honest, if it all ends this weekend, you can still look back at this Alabama team, and also for Auburn tomorrow when they tip off, you can look at it and say, you know what, there were two of the better teams in college basketball, and essentially at that point we will figure out who the best team in college basketball is, because right now there's 16 teams vying for it, and all 16 legitimately have an argument of cutting down the nets in San Antonio next weekend.
Yeah, and I think now that you know how the brackets shake out, and while there's no shame if you were to lose in the Elite Eight. Now, I certainly think, if Alabama loses tonight or Auburn loses tonight, there would be some frustration. But, I think in Alabama's case, right, if you get to the weekend and you lose to Duke, while it might be disappointing, I don't think anyone's necessarily going to hold that against you. And similarly to, for Auburn, and if you get to play Michigan State. Now, the opposite of that is if you get to the Elite Eight and you're not playing those teams, I think that kind of changes how some people would feel about those matchups and the outcome of them. And, even if, we wouldn't necessarily hold it against either of those teams if they were not to make it to the Final Four because they lost to really, really good teams in Michigan State and Duke, that's not the expectation, right? The expectation for both of these teams and both of these fan bases is, that you're going to be playing next week for a chance to go play for a national championship. Potentially against each other, honestly. And so it's, yeah, I mean, you've gotten to this point, and like you said, I mean, anybody that has made it this far, and we've talked about a lot this week, is, it's not a normal year, I guess, by, I guess most people's standards for an NCAA tournament, where, I mean, legitimately every team that's in it right now, you feel like has a good shot, because there's not that team that, they were a Cinderella. They got hot at the right time, and you can tell that eventually they're going to run into a brick wall, and you're not going to have a super competitive game. I mean, even, you were talking about Arkansas, and, that's not a normal number 10 seed. And I think they were only an 8 seed a few years ago, but I look at that more as, like when you had that North Carolina team that played for a national title just a handful of years ago, and I think they were an 8 seed, where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I understand from a seeding standpoint, you didn't clearly have the season we're used to you having, but based on the talent that's on that roster, it was a situation of more so, okay, it just didn't all come together maybe at the right time, and now you're starting to figure it out, and so you look at them a little differently even than I think you would other number 10 seeds in the past, and so it makes it all so interesting. And, while, again, it kind of goes and shows you how far we've come here, in the sense that, if you're Alabama, right, until last year, getting back to a Sweet 16, 3 years in a row, that's something you would probably be pretty excited about. But now, since you've made it to a Final Four, that has now become the expectation of, okay, we're not just happy to get into the tournament. We're not even just happy to get into the tournament and make it through the first weekend. It's, all right, how do we get back to the level of last year, or how do we try to get past that and get into a national championship game? And I think similarly for Auburn, it's, all right, it's great. You're back in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019 when you went to the Final Four. But now you have the added pressure of, all right, not only is that the expectation for you because of what Bruce Pearl's accomplished now, but now you look at the other side of the state and you see what Alabama did last year, and it's more of that pressure of, all right, so how do we get back to that as well? Because we don't want it to be a situation where, oh yeah, we made that Final Four those years ago. You remember that? The expectation as the number 1 overall seed is to win a national championship. So it's exciting. It's cool that we are now at this point where we're going into these games, and it's not like, and because I'll be honest, last year, right, for Alabama, when they got to the game against UConn, I mean,
Yeah, right.
I was not expecting them to win. I was hopeful that they would win, but I wasn't realistically expecting that because you knew that UConn was just kind of a buzzsaw. But this year, it doesn't feel like, even as good as Duke's looked the first couple of games, I think if you're an Alabama fan, you're like, yeah, bring on Duke. Like, I want to play Duke and take on that challenge. And similarly for Auburn, it's not okay, well, we're glad we made it, but we just ran into that one team that was really way better than us and nothing we can do about it. Like, no, that's That's not the case this year. Like, you are expecting to be that team, right?
Mhm.
That other teams look at and go, "Oh crap, we're on that side of the bracket with them." So it's very cool to see just how far we've come in such a short period of time.
Absolutely. And they're getting started here on the Jocks text line, 205-834-9450. You can text in, you can call in on this Final Score Thursday. The Final Score Thursday here. Jamie texts in, he says, I think the ride ends today. Alabama is not disciplined enough, and Mark Sears is not having the kind of season that we need for him to have in order to go to the Elite Eight. I think it's been a great run, but I think it ends tonight. Roll Tide anyway. Doesn't sound too optimistic. But also, I don't think that BYU is, no disrespect to BYU. I think it takes more of Alabama messing up than it is that BYU is going to just line up and beat Alabama tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. Let me explain this real quick what I'm about to say, but I think this is maybe the easiest matchup that Alabama's had so far, in the sense that, not saying they're the best team that Alabama's played, but in the matchup and the style of play, it should be like coming home for Alabama, right? Because you're playing a team that has a very similar style to you.
Mhm.
Essentially, BYU is a not as good version of Alabama.
Yep.
Like, just in the way that they play basketball. And so to come off, we know what St. Mary's is defensively. I think Robert Morris was a tougher matchup than you expected it to be, but that's also a team, right? They got nothing to lose from the beginning, right? They're just happy to be there, and they're trying to pull off an upset. And so now you're going up against a BYU team that, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them as well, on top of the fact that, you brought it up, I brought it up yesterday, but the comparison to them, they most closely resemble a Kentucky team, in the sense that they are really good offensively. I think they've been the number one offensive team in the country since the middle of February, but defensively, they're significantly worse than Kentucky is. And so you look at that matchup, and I understand the point of, well, yeah, Mark Sears hasn't been hitting his shots, and if Alabama doesn't hit their shots, they're going to lose. But if you're looking for a game for Alabama to maybe get back on track shooting wise, I would think it'd be a game like this where you're going to be more comfortable, because
Mhm.
you're going to be able to run up and down the court, and you're going to be able to play your style. And BYU is more than happy to play that style of basketball with you, where the other two opponents were trying to get you, essentially just confuse you the whole time.
Yeah, Teddy from Birmingham, he texted in. He has Alabama knocking off BYU 95-88. Says roll Tide. Somebody else takes in and says the Tide rolls tonight 92-76 and beats Duke in the Elite Eight. I'll put it like this. I'll put it like this. If Alabama wins and Duke wins and Alabama knocks off Duke, it's going to be hard to convince me that Alabama is not going to be playing for a national title. Because I think at that point, yes, Auburn is the number one overall seed, but the most dangerous team is already eliminated at that point. If Alabama were to knock off Duke in the Elite Eight.
And at least if you were to play Auburn, right? And I mean, it would go both ways, but
yeah,
it's all right. We've already beaten those guys. Now they've beaten us, but we've also beaten them. And so whereas for Duke, especially depending on, let's say Duke beats Arizona by 20 points, right? Everybody's going to be picking Duke, and it's going to look like, oh, okay, they're just an unbeatable team at this point. And so if you are able to get over that, because I mean, to be fair, if we get to that point, I mean, Alabama will be the toughest team Duke's played, just like Duke will be the toughest team that Alabama's played. But yeah, if you were able to overcome that, yeah, you'd be looking at it as, okay, well, bring it on. Now, granted, I don't think you particularly want to play Florida again.
No,
because that matchup is not.
And they're battle tested.
Not working for you.
Yeah, it doesn't really add up too well for you if you were to match up with the Florida Gators. And speaking of the Florida Gators, Drake takes in. He says Florida's going to knock off Maryland tonight, 87-66. Maryland, it was a fun ride if that is the case for you. I hate it for you.
I just feel like, man, coming off of just the way that they won that game over Colorado, I mean, it was awesome. That was the best moment of the tournament so far. It's only a buzzer beater we've had, but having to pick yourself up from that against Colorado State and then go play Florida, like,
yeah,
that's a tough spot to be in just a couple days later.
It's like, congratulations, you got Florida.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, you did what you needed to do, and you're riding off that emotional high. Well, now you got a week. Well, 6 days, and you're kind of looking at the schedule. Like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, it was like Alabama State. It was like, all right, that was an awesome moment for you in the first four.
All right.
Got another one of those? Like, because you're going to need something like that in order to beat Auburn.
I'm telling you, man. But we get it started tonight. The Sweet 16, it's here. It's here. We get it tipped off tonight. Alabama going at about 6 o'clock. And you get a chance to see that game on CBS. 205-834-9450 on this Final Score Thursday. Is Alabama going to the Elite Eight? What you think the score is going to be across the board just today? And that's also previewing a little bit for tomorrow's games as well. We'll get some reaction on the Jocks phone lines, text lines, always open. Keep it locked right here on Morning Jocks and Jocks 94.5. 6:20 here on Morning JOX, JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order here with you. As we do a little final score Thursday, y'all know how we do it on Fridays. Usually we do it on Fridays. But when we have one of our teams playing, we want to know how the fan base is feeling. With the Sweet 16 set to tip off tonight, Alabama gets things started on CBS at 6 o'clock as they take on the BYU Cougars. And a little after 6:30, we have the number 1 seed of Florida Gators taking on the Maryland Terrapins. And right after Alabama and BYU, you have Duke and Arizona. That game should tip off somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, somewhere in that window. At least that's what we're hoping for. And then after Florida and Maryland, the nightcap. Arkansas Razorbacks taking on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So it's gonna be it's gonna be a little bit of a late night, but it's an exciting time in college basketball.
Yeah, no, it's it's a great slate of games both today and tomorrow, and yeah, I mean we might be a little tired tomorrow, but that's all right. I'll certainly take it. So it definitely beats the last couple of nights where, it's been, I guess it's been nice being able to catch up on what my wife wants to watch on Netflix and things like that, but I'd much prefer to be watching basketball. But yeah, before we keep going with the Sweet 16, we do need to talk about last night, because you did have basketball to watch last night here. If you support teams in the state of Alabama, because you had UAB in the NIT with a win, sending them to the Final Four of the NIT. They were out there on the West Coast taking on UC Irvine. And UAB, I mean, they were taking care of business in the first half, shooting the ball well. They were up 36-31 at halftime. Then in the second half, got off not shooting the ball quite as well early on. UC Irvine able to close the gap, and it was really a great game. I mean, it was very back and forth for essentially the entire second half. And then you get to the end of the game. UAB, the game's tied. UAB has a chance to send it to overtime. Win the game, not send it to overtime. Unfortunately, Yaxel Lindeborg called for a travel with a couple seconds left. So that's that. You go to overtime, and unfortunately, yet again, with seconds remaining, you have an opportunity to win the game. Yaxel Lindeborg gets the ball and puts up a shot, doesn't go in, gets the rebound, puts up another shot, doesn't go in, and sadly, that is the way the UAB season ended in a 81-77 loss. UC Irvine got some free throws at the very end because UAB fouled, but that was all she wrote. So yeah, unfortunately, very, very close for UAB. They almost pulled it out.
Yeah.
But it was a great basketball game. It's just unfortunate at the end. Yaxel came up a little bit short for a guy that's come up for UAB all year long. Sad to see that be the way that the season ends for the Blazers, but it was still a pretty good season here in Birmingham for Coach AK and the Blazers. He did a really good job, and now we wait and see what we get next year, because there's going to be a lot of questions, I think, around Yaxel Lindeborg, and a guy that could go and test the NBA draft waters. He would feel pretty confident that he would get selected, whether it's late first round, early second round, mid second round. So that certainly is a path for him. He can come back to UAB for another year, which I know we would all love to see. But the reality of it is that's a guy that is going to attract a lot of money in the transfer portal if he decides to go that route. So we will now wait and see what the future holds for him and the UAB Blazers.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. He has some good looks, and you want your best player to have the ball in that situation.
Yes,
and it's just unfortunate the shots didn't go in, and UAB's season is finished in the quarterfinals of the NIT. But nonetheless, you still got a chance to play. And I know Coach Kennedy. He's probably a little frustrated because this team should have been in the NCAA tournament had they handled their business with Memphis. They had kind of just a recurring theme all season long. They just couldn't sustain leads in key situations. Like, you had them in the first half, and in the second half, you kind of just,
Jose, we saw that here in Bartow in the regular season, where you had them.
You had them.
Yeah.
And just got to be able to finish those things out. And then you saw it, a couple nights ago with the 22-point comeback. And it's like, if they just could never find a way to put two halves together and get a complete game, but nonetheless, a successful season for UAB does fall in the quarterfinals in the NIT. But we do have some games tonight for the Sweet 16. On Final Score Thursday, we your text message, your calls, always welcome, 205-834-9450. Cody texted in, he says, Bama wins 91-88, but BYU makes a three with 6.3 seconds left in the game to tie it, and Mark Sears hits a buzzer beater three to win and go to the Elite Eight and hope that Arizona knocks off Duke.
I appreciate how specific that
Exactly
that prediction is.
It's like he's played it. He's played the scenario in his head. I'm here for it. Somebody texted in and says BYU knocks off Alabama 83-79. Go Cougars. Okay. Yeah, a little bit on the opposite end. Alan texted in and says the great thing about this year is Mark Sears hasn't had to have a year like last year. Weapons like Holloway, Cliff, and Youngblood have made it easier for Sears to just be a facilitator. But when we need him, my guy turns it on. RTR. Give me Bama. 97-82.
Yeah, and I might just be coping with this, but anytime that you have a player like that who's going through the slump that he is and shooting 18% or whatever it is from 3-point range over the last 6 games, it doesn't last forever, right? And so it's very possible that tonight is not the night that ends. It's very possible that is, a big reason that Alabama is going home after tonight, right? Because this is a game where you're going to have to be able to score points. But there just gets to a point where, you're due, right? We talk about it all the time with teams, especially teams that are as good offensively as Alabama is, right? You're going to have nights where your shots don't fall. It's very rare for you to have night after night after night where your shot doesn't fall. And if you continue taking those shots, eventually it's going to go down, right? And, I think that's a big part of it for Mark Sears is just seeing a couple of those shots go down. And once that happens, it's, oh, okay, yeah, I'm still the same player I used to be because, it's mental, right? You get in your head of, okay, I can't, I'm not that player anymore. And then you see a couple shots going and you quickly remember, oh, yeah, I am. I just, I'm human, right? We all have off nights. And so maybe that's not tonight for Mark Sears. But again, this is just a game where you would expect him, the other guards for Alabama. I mean, Phylon, could step up as well. Aiden Holloway's played better in the tournament, but these are all guys, Youngblood as well. He had a good game against St. Mary's, but these are all guys that you look at and just haven't quite been shooting the ball maybe at the level that you would expect them to. And eventually, I mean, that's going to change for them. And so hopefully that is tonight. That would bode very well for them, obviously, if that is tonight. But shoot, man. And eventually, those shots are going to start falling.
You got to have that Deion Waiters mindset.
Well,
rather go 0 for 20 than 1 for 8, because if I go 1 for 8, that means I stop shooting.
Yeah.
Nah, dog. You got to put those things up. And again, all it takes is one game. Look at Grant Nelson. Think of, shout out to our buddy, our caller, Poe, who, I mean, he spoke it into existence. He's like, hey, man, Grant, just give him some time. He usually turns it on about this time. We waiting on that Grant Nelson game. We got it in the second edition of the Iron Bowl of basketball. And it's like, oh, he spoke it into existence. That's all you need. You just need that one time for it to like, okay, it's clicking. And when it does, it opens the floodgates. And again, what we've seen from Alabama the first 2 games is kind of to Alan's point, he hasn't had to be Superman. Now, of course, he wants to make his shots. Like, you want to see your shots go in. But when everybody else is starting to step up their game, the big men getting active, it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to. But if I got the shot, definitely still going to look at it. But
it's like the same thing with Auburn, right?
Exactly.
That we've talked about. It's impressive, and you're happy that other guys are stepping up when you're not getting what you're expecting from Janai Broome. But this is also the point in the tournament where you're like, it'd be nice to have that.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. We'll continue with your text message, your calls on this Final Score Thursday. Is Alabama going to the Elite Eight in their matchup with BYU? We'll discuss that more when we return here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:33 here on Morning JOX. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and of course you, our wonderful listeners. On this Final Score Thursday, is Alabama going to the Elite Eight? Or is BYU going to pull off the upset? Well, is it really an upset in the Sweet 16? Maybe just because of seeding purposes, I understand.
Yes.
It's still an upset.
It would be an upset.
Yeah. Are you going to make a wardrobe change when before the game tips off? You going to be Yankees all the way up until...
Damien, I'm going to do a wardrobe change in between shows this morning.
I got you, brother. Got you.
I told you, this is a very... This is my day. This is my day. Now, it could go completely off the rails, and it could end up being a horrible day for me. If the Yankees lose and Alabama loses,
True.
It's going to be a bad day. But it's 6:30 in the morning, and all of that is still ahead of us.
Exactly.
So for right now, it's a great day.
Absolutely. Conrad's New York Yankees take on the Milwaukee Brewers at 2 p.m. on ESPN. My Cincinnati Reds, we take on the San Francisco Giants there at 3:10. And your Atlanta Braves hit the road to start the season in San Diego to take on the Padres as opening day across the major league. Well, technically, I guess you say it opened up a week or so ago when in Tokyo.
Yeah, you were real confused about that.
I thought I was tripping. I was looking. I was like, is this live? And sure enough, it was. But now, stateside, today is opening day.
Yeah, so the good news is for the Dodgers, they're 2-0. The bad news for the Cubs is they're 0-2 already to start the season. So they're a little behind the 8 ball. But no, this is...
That's not about how you start.
No, that's right. It's all about how you finish.
It's a marathon, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marathon. We're here for it. We are here for it. Final Score Thursday, 205-834-9450. Joseph texted in. He's got Alabama knocking off BYU 92-89. Duke getting by Arizona 82-68. Florida over Maryland 85-65. And Arkansas squeaks out one against Texas Tech 75-70. So John Calipari in year one takes Arkansas to the Elite Eight. Woo! I'm here for it, though. I'm here for it. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's have some fun. Talk some ball. Let's go to our buddy John in T-Town wants to talk with us this morning. What's going on, John?
Not too much, fellas. Good morning. Good morning. I do have Alabama going to Elite Eight. I actually have them going to the championship game. I have them winning today by 6. You got the two highest scoring offenses in NCAA. So I'm saying 97-91. I think it's going to be a good game. I actually have Arkansas upsetting Tech.
Let's go.
I think it's going to be one of those just all-out gruel games. I think they're going to win kind of like Alabama beat Auburn, kind of a drive late, 2 seconds left, but it's going to be some ugly finger roll from about 9 feet away that somehow finds its way in. Like I said the other day, I've got 15 of my 16 teams in. Alabama's playing BYU. BYU is the only team I didn't have in the Sweet 16. So I think Alabama will take care of that one. Tomorrow, I believe you're going to see Tennessee upset Kentucky. Just hard to beat somebody 3 times in the same season. I have Auburn winning. My Final Four, the only SEC team I have not making is going to be Houston. So I think that's how we'll go, fellas.
All right, man. John, we appreciate you as always. Let's continue on the phone line. Let's talk to our buddy Walker in Georgia wants to talk with us this morning. What's happening, Walker?
Not much, man. Appreciate y'all letting me get on the call this morning. I will say I am glad we have Duke and Arizona in the East Regional because here on the East Coast, I don't know if I can stay up at 10 o'clock at night and get past the midnight game. I had to work the next morning. But my Final Score Thursday pick is going to be Bama 102-92. I think it's going to be kind of like the UNC game last year. It's going to go back and forth, some big plays at the end. And I'm going to have a hot take here and file on with a triple-double.
Hey.
He's going to go for a triple-double tonight against BYU. And let's just say people are going to know who File is after tonight. So that's my take. Appreciate y'all letting me hop on and love the show, guys.
Hey, man, feel free to call in anytime. Roll Tide. Ain't that right, Conrad?
Inject that into my veins.
Let's go. File with a triple-dub as a freshman in the Sweet 16?
Mm-hmm. Sign me up for that.
So we got a File. We had a Grant Nelson game last year. Now we about to get a File guy? Hey, speak it into existence, baby.
That's right. Now we just need Poe to call in and tell everyone to get off Mark Sears' back, and then I'll really feel good about tonight. We'll be good to go.
Absolutely, man. 205-834-9450. Nick from North Birmingham texted in. He has Alabama knocking off BYU 95-90. Duke over Arizona 90-87. Arkansas squeaking by Texas Tech 75-74. And Florida knocking off Maryland 94-85. I'm here for it, dog. I'm here for it.
So do you prefer this slate where you're going to have the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 4 days in a row, or last week where you have the first round and then the second round? Because I just feel like we heard a lot of it of both sides of, because everyone talks about, last Thursday and Fridays, oh, these are the best days of the entire year. And they are fantastic days. And I think just the volume of games.
Right, that's what, yeah.
Is really what it is. But, I think today and tomorrow are a very close runner-up, just in the sense of you don't have as many games. You're not getting stuff, because I think we all, maybe some of you don't like it, but I certainly enjoy, having those 11:30 tip-offs and like having a whole day of basketball. And so you're not getting that, but the quality of games you're getting, I mean, you're getting 4 incredible games tonight and tomorrow, and then you're going to get 2 on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's the quality of teams, because we've already shrunken it a little bit after 1 week. But as far as, like you said, the volume of games, yeah, give me the opening day of March Madness. Like, it's, like you said, 11 o'clock is turn the TV on and just watch ball. And it's exciting because you don't really know. And it's just that newness, that freshness of, all right, I know my bracket is either busted within the first hour, but by the time I lay my head down that night, I know exactly where I stand as far as some of my picks are concerned. Nick's picks scoring formula, I appreciate it, but this is
a lot of math.
It's insane. Like, there's decimal points involved, and don't know if I can read all that. But either way it goes, in the national championship, it's Duke versus Florida. But sweet Jesus, he's got some predictions that just, it's too many numbers right now.
Okay,
it's too many numbers right now.
It's early.
It is. James takes in. He says, I have an all SEC Final Four: Auburn, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee, with Florida winning it all. Then it says, roll Tide, roll James out. Okay. I mean, yeah, you're an Alabama fan. You picked Florida to win it all.
I did.
But in your heart, if Alabama were to win it all, would you just say, like, screw the bracket? Who cares?
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't care. Yeah, no, I do not care about the bracket at all at that point. I'd definitely take that, the championship, over being right in my bracket when it came to picking the champion. But yeah, I did. I have Alabama losing the national championship game in my bracket. Well, Florida, man.
It happens. That's a Taylor Swift song as well. Somebody texted in and said it will be a disappointment if the SEC doesn't have 4 teams in the Final Four. According to everyone that's been talking this year, it's been the best conference all around. Well, there's 7 teams in the.
Yeah, it's not a disappointment
at all. Like, it's not.
Now, I think it'd be a disappointment if you only had 1.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's actually I mean, yes, okay, we can all think, like, in an ideal world, all 4 SEC teams would, or all 4 Final Four teams would be from the SEC. But I don't think anybody's, like, realistically expecting that to happen. That'd be wild. But yeah, I mean, 7 teams in the Sweet 16 most of all the time. I think that kind of answers any questions about how good the SEC was this year. I think they've taken care of that.
Yeah. Damn, Jimmy, coming from the top rope. He says it's clear why Birmingham Southern College had to close, because Damien has no concept of decimals in mathematics. Like, okay, let me tell you what the final score. Let me tell you what the final score is in his national championship game. He's got Duke 76.253 and Florida 73.623. Last time I checked, ain't no decimal points in a basketball game. Like, how's this possible? Like, I'm just saying, like, he's using the BCS rankings in the doggone national championship in college basketball. Damn, son.
Someone's been holding that in for a while. Like, they're just waiting for an opportunity.
God almighty, just beat a brother down. Somebody said, damn, and y'all beat up on Don for liking Florida. It's just the fact Don is an Auburn fan and said Florida, when Auburn was the number 1 team in the nation, he said Florida was the best team playing basketball. It's like, wait a minute. Then we saw the head-to-head, and it was like...
No, let's be fair. Don was just ahead of his time, right?
He was.
Don is smarter than all of us, and
He saw it coming.
He saw it coming. He did. He saw it before the rest of us.
Hey, and Conrad believed that he was sipping some of that Florida. He was sipping some of that Gatorade.
I still am.
Yeah.
I know everyone's, oh, man, they played UConn close. Like, yeah, UConn's good.
2-time defending national champions. Like, no matter how you slice it up.
Who won the game? Okay.
That's all that matters. We keep going on this final score Thursday, 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls on the other side. Keep it locked right here. Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. Pearl Jam.
That's right.
Let's go. Now that I listen a little closer,
Well, you've heard this song like 20 times now.
Oh, okay, never mind. They all sound the same, bro. They do.
Yeah, see, this is the funny thing about Damien getting tripped up. I play the same Pearl Jam song every time.
Bro,
Every
they all
time.
sound the same, dog.
Sorry, I might have played this and one more.
I can see it now. I can hear it now. That's wild. That's why we're having some fun here on Final Score Thursday.
That means it's going to be a good day. When you get it right,
Hey, that means Alabama by 100.
I like that. That's
Roll
right.
Tide.
That's right.
You know me, huge Alabama
Good
basketball.
attitude. Well, based
Huge.
on your shirt the other day.
That was, that's just the first thing I grabbed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing I grabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, big SEC guy. I want all 4 SEC spots. I want all 4 teams in the SEC to be in the Final Four. Oh man, okay. So Nick's picks is a scoring formula, a statistical formula using fixed variables. And so he's got Auburn over Michigan, 77-74. Michigan State over Ole Miss, 75-72. Florida over Maryland, 76-75. I'm starting to sense a theme
I was
here.
about to say, so there are
Nobody's getting above 80.
scores are all the same.
Yeah, Texas Tech over Arkansas, 78-76. Duke over Arizona, 78-72. BYU falls to Alabama, 86-79. So Alabama is the only team that scored over 80 points because Houston beats Purdue 75-74 and Tennessee over Kentucky 77-74. Okay, so yeah, he apologized. He only meant to send the Sweet 16.
Okay, well. I mean, to be fair, it's not crazy, I guess, to predict Alabama to be the highest scoring team, but that'd be a lot of close, gritty games.
Yeah. Joseph texted in with a little nugget of information. He said, with the Final Four back in San Antonio, do we get all number 1 seeds as it happened in 2008 in San Antonio?
Oh, that was in San Antonio. Okay.
I
didn't know that's where the
right.
That was in San Antonio.
That'd be.
Well, there you go. 17-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Those are big.
Wow. When you said it out loud, 2008 was 17 years ago.
Yeah, I was in.
We're
What
old.
grade are you in then? Like 7th grade?
We're old, dog.
Yeah, and then everyone listening to us say, "Oh man, I feel old." They're like, "Man, all right."
No, it's just
I
like
feel
when you
old."
say 17 years ago, I'm thinking like, whoa. Like, it can't be. Then, yeah, that was 17 years ago.
Lifetime ago.
Yeah, it happens. Somebody texts in and says, Bama by 90, and after the game, AJ flips to Bama. Who's AJ?
Oh, Diabonsa, the
The
guy
dude
that BYU's paying $7 million. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I have to. So
forgot
I
about
saw
that.
there was somebody that. So there were some BYU fans on social media the other day that were going on about how BYU is the model of this is how college athletics should be run. This is like the kind of roster that you should have because they have a lot of guys that have been there for a minute, and they were just kind of beating their chest about how, oh well, we do things the right way at BYU, the way that we construct our roster. We don't go out and do these crazy payments, and we have guys that are here because they want to be at BYU. And
do they want
it's
to
like,
be?
big dog, do you not realize that you are paying an 18-year-old $7 million to come play basketball for you for 1 year next year?
And then the
$7 million for 1 year.
the commitment to off the court as well at BYU. They're built a little different.
They're just soaking it all in right now.
Some jokes just write themselves, man.
Mm-hmm.
Some jokes just write themselves. That was a good one, dog.
Thank you.
That was a good one. But it should be an entertaining matchup to say the least. I do think Alabama wins the ball game. Alabama is a 5.5 point favorite. Do with that information as you wish. But
Over under 175.5.
yeah, again, do with that information as you wish. But if you listen to the algorithm from Nick's picks, it's Alabama's gonna be the only team scoring over 80 points. So I don't know if that 175 is gonna be the ideal number to play with. But hey, to each its own. I think it'll be a lot of fun though. I think Alabama knocks off BYU, advances to the Elite Eight. In one of my brackets, I have Arizona in the Final Four. So I'm kind of hoping that Arizona pulls off this, which would be an upset because through the first 2 games, Duke has looked like the best team in the tournament so far. But it's a tall task. It's a tall task, but it can be done. It can be done. I also think Florida knocks off Maryland. And I'm starting to lean. At first, coming into it, I thought I was leaning more Texas Tech knocking off Arkansas. But as I get closer to tip-off, I'm like, man, I think Arkansas is playing with some house money. And the fact that, like Eric G said yesterday, that they're the more physical team, it can knock Texas Tech a little off. And Arkansas can win ugly. I think they're built for it. They're built for the fist fight. So I think Arkansas wins as well. So we'll have at least 2 teams from the SEC. Well, 3 teams in the SEC in the Elite Eight, which I think is pretty ideal for the conference. I don't think it's a disappointment. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you're guaranteed another one because Kentucky and Florida, one of them has to win, and then Auburn as well, potentially. So we could have 5 of the 8 in the Elite Eight. But, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm at this point with Arkansas, it's like, why not? Plus, you're getting Thero back for 15 to 20 minutes tonight. Yeah, I think it's an ugly game. But, yeah, I'll take Arkansas on that one. I think Florida, them getting a close call, maybe a wake-up call, and Maryland having to come back from the emotions of that buzzer beater. I think I'll take the Gators there. I will stick with my gut, with my bracket. I think Arizona beats Duke tonight.
Let's go.
Caleb Love, he knows what it takes. He's very familiar with Duke.
Let's go.
I like Arizona to pull off the upset, and then I got Alabama.
Of course, roll tide.
Of course. I'll take Bama 91-84.
Okay.
Over the Mormons.
I'm here for it. We keep going. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Damien and Conrad edition is up next.